Hello, this is Michael Dodds with the Cibola County DWI program in Grants, New Mexico. I am reaching out to you guys in this podcast so that we can discuss a few things that are going on with our program locally. With this COVID-19 pandemic going on, we need to make sure everybody understands how things are being operated as far as DWI offenders, domestic violence, and other misdemeanor compliance offenders. Currently, our compliance program the office is closed. We have our officers working from home. They're fielding calls from the offenders to check in on a regular basis as they had been doing before, just not in person. We want to make sure that our offenders are completing the court-ordered requirements, so we're following through with that and working with DWI and domestic abuse through the DWI, the local DWI program from DFA, the state of New Mexico. And one of the things, it's a pretty well-rounded program. We have many components, and in those components are prevention and treatment and compliance, of course. We also have alternative sentencing programs and things that we're working on. But this COVID-19 problem has caused us some roadblocks. It's made things a little bit more difficult for us. But we do still have social media. We still have our telephone lines, and we're trying to do as much electronic prevention as we can. We're trying to do as much treatment as we can do by continuing to do our referrals for intensive individual treatment and therapy, counseling. So we have many different providers that we're working with so that we can refer any offenders who still need to complete those programs. That way they're not falling behind on those requirements through the courts. We are kind of at a standstill with our prevention right now. We have the DWI affiliates currently going to be meeting next week to discuss some prevention ideas, things that we can be doing online through podcasts or videos or YouTube or any of that stuff, so that we can get the word out about alcohol and substance abuse and domestic violence, drinking and driving, things like that. And then we are working with Roberta's Place very closely right now. We have Roberta's Place fielding calls for anybody who is a victim of domestic abuse, whether it's themselves as a victim or if it is anybody that they know who is a victim. We have a telephone number that anybody can call to get any type of guidance or assistance in what to do in that situation. Roberta's Place is the name of the organization, and the number there is 287-7724.
May I just interrupt you and ask how is alcohol abuse and domestic violence related?
So when we're drinking alcohol or we're using any types of substances, we tend to lower our inhibitions, and we don't think as clearly and as responsibly as we should be. So when we're in a situation like this and we're at home and we're trying to deal with all the stressors and all of the negative things that are going on in our environment, some people are turning to alcohol or turning to other substances to deal with that, and that really elevates the risk of domestic abuse. It also elevates the risk of level of violence. I mean, the more somebody is intoxicated or under the influence, the more likely they are to be a little more aggressive or have a little bit less ability to hold themselves back. So it's really important that we pay close attention to signs and symptoms of people who are being abused, or people who are being abused understand the dangers of how far and how fast and how far things can get if you're not trying to take care of it right away. So Roberta's Place is a great organization. They can help out with that, getting people referrals, getting people into shelter if they need to, getting them into a safe place. I know this is a really tough time for a lot of people, so it's important that everybody understands that resources out there and available. And then if my office number is area code 505-285-2585. And if anybody has any questions or suggestions about things that we can be doing to further prevention programs or further education for alcohol substance abuse treatment or education, please feel free to call me and give me your ideas or ask your questions, and I'll do my best to give you the most informed answer I can. It's really important that we try to keep the ball rolling with these programs. Just because we're not in the office doesn't mean that it's not a very important issue that we need to deal with.